Hello, everybody. This is Scott Golden, Golden Opportunities Coaching. Welcome to the first Sunday in April. We are a week away from the Christian Easter, and in that way, I think it's a good idea to talk about resurrection and reconciliation when we are in the midst of difficulty. Please like and subscribe to this channel. Also, please feel free to leave comments. If you have a video you'd like to see, actually an audio you'd like to hear, please feel free to leave that. We will usually get those done within 24 to 48 hours. In any event, so often in life, we're given a prognosis. It can be a physical prognosis of illness. It can be a prognosis of what we will do professionally. It can be a prognosis for our relationships, our marriage, what our kids will do, what our spouse will do, any number of things. And we let the definition of that prognosis become our identity. I know this, and I'm talking about it because I did it. 15 months ago, August to August will be 12, September, October, November, December, January. 15 months ago, or 17, when I went into a care facility because I couldn't physically move, there were members of the staff of the nursing facility that I went into, and before that, the hospital I was in, that said, your life is over, you got to get used to it. They said, go on disability. That's the definition of who you are now. They said, get Medicaid. You got to pay for this somehow. They said, give up on your dreams, give up on your aspirations, and learn to accept where you're at. And it never resonated with me. Matter of fact, the defeatist nature and the defeatist mentality of that attitude broke my heart in pieces. How could these people who didn't know me, I wondered, prognosticate that my life was over? I was only 38 years old. Now, 38 feels old to me. Trust me, there are some days where 38 feels like 68, and I'm sure there's some of you out there who know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to that. But as I laid there in immense pain, every movement sending jolts of what felt like electricity through my joints, my knees, my shoulders, my ankles, my elbows. And I wanted to cry out, and sometimes I did. And I wanted to be bitter, and many days I was. I didn't believe it was over. I didn't become my imposed limitations by others, and I didn't let that become the definition of my identity. All too often, we live within our limitations. And folks, obviously family channel, but that is complete BS. Don't do that to yourself. And there are some people that call believing beyond your limitations magical thinking, and they'll call it living in an alternate reality. You know what? Sometimes you got to think about magic, because it's the only thing that'll get us out of our circumstances. Sometimes a miracle can be considered a magical imposition into our lives. We all believe, at least some, we've all seen miracles, things that didn't make sense. It didn't make sense that I survived this far, according to many medical professionals, all of who said I'd be dead by 30. So far, I've outlived them by almost 8.5 years. It didn't make sense that someone in a wheelchair, would be able to touch thousands of lives all over the world. It didn't make sense that a person who would never walk, was able to touch lives through the broadcasting of professional wrestling to such a level that I have friends and former colleagues in every national and international company in the world. None of these things make sense, but they happened because I chose to live beyond my limitation. Now, that doesn't mean we should all go out and try and jump up a building and convince ourselves we can fly. Yes, there are inevitable laws within the universe that we can't break, right? We're not going to be able to fly. Chances are we're not going to outrun a cheetah. Chances are we're not going to be able to lift a semi-truck. But at the same time, What harm is there in trying to do things that we deem to be unlikely or inconceivable? What harm is there in efforting towards breaking through your limitations? You know, I've seen people and worked with people over the years that have some really fancy degrees. And no, I'm not bagging on college, but I do bag on the idea that college is a solution for all. It's one of the biggest lies I've ever heard. Because in reality, if I go somewhere and I plunk down tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars and they don't guarantee me a job, what have I really done? I've been a bit of a fool, haven't I? Because I sat there believing that what they teach me would guarantee me something. And all it guarantees me is a hefty student loan bill at the end of the day. I encourage people, go find a mentor. Find and seek out people, men and women, who are doing what you want to do, and pick their brain. Cultivate those relationships and say, how'd you do that? And that even goes into building relationships, folks. You know, so often I hear from folks that I coach in relationship coaching, everybody seems to have a better relationship than I do. Everybody seems to be more in love than I am. You know what you do? You go find a couple that's been married for 30, 40 years and you say, hey, one question, how? And they'll begin to tell you the story of timeless things that traverse culture, traverse race, traverse time, and they still remain true today. Every problem that you have right now, somebody else has already has solved. Every challenge that you face, somebody's already beat it. Think of life like one big video game. Yes, we all level up from time to time. And yes, there's pitfalls in every level. But sooner or later, we learn how not to step in the hole. But yet there's so many people. You know, they'll say something like, I'm reminded of a CNA who worked at the care facility that I was at. She was about 10 years older than me, a nice African-American lady. Hated her job, though. Told me so. Said, I don't want to do this. I remember she was helping me with some daily living tasks, and I always like to pick people's brains, and anybody that knows me knows this. And so I said, you really don't like this anymore, do you? She said, no. I said, what would you like to do? And she said, I don't know. I said, okay, we're going to play a game. Pretend I put a gun to your head, and you've got to come out with something else you want to do. What would you say? So we talked a little bit, and she talked about a dream of opening her own business, doing this and that. And I said, what stops you? And she said something really interesting. She said, I'm too limited to ever achieve my dreams. Now, here's a woman in her early 40s, probably could live another 30, 40 years, and she's convinced herself that she's too limited to find success. Does that sound familiar? Are you living in a life of limitation? Are you telling yourself that because you've been in an abusive relationship before or been with a narcissist that you can't find a nice man or woman to be partnered with? Are you telling yourself that because you haven't found a job you enjoy that you'll never find a professional vocation that lights you up and brings you joy and peace? Are you telling yourself that because you're broken, you will never be a good parent, never be a good friend? Are you telling yourself that because you come from an economic place of poverty that somehow you will never be able to break into financial freedom? What are you telling yourself about your limitations? Are you telling yourself they're fixed or they're flexible? Because if your limitations are fixed, you're right 100% of the time. If your limitations are flexible, even if it's half a quarter of an eighth of an inch, so think about how small that is. That's about as small as some of brains than some of the politicians we have here in the United States. But anyway, that's a different video altogether. But in any event, even if you've got a tenth of an eighth of an inch, you've got some wiggle room. And as long as you have flexibility, you have the ability for things to change. You see, there's three things in life that are guaranteed. You're guaranteed that you will have to pay taxes. That's the way the government in our current world is structured. You're guaranteed from the moment that you are born that you have a sexually transmitted terminal disease known as life. And it'll end the same way for all of us, all 7 billion of us on the planet. We're all going to die. And the third thing that's inevitable is change. Change is a constant. It's always happening around you. But the question is, do you take the perspective, do you take the perception that it's happening for you or happening to you? Because if it's happening to you, you're pretty powerless. You're just kind of in the bus. And, well, if somebody wants to drive the bus off the edge of the cliff, there's nothing I can do. But if it's happening for you, even the worst of circumstances can mean something positive. Even the harshest of limitations can lead you to eliminate all doubt. See, right now, today, there's something that you're looking at that you don't think you'll ever get past. There's something that's going on that you don't think you can survive. But I guarantee you, because I know enough about human nature, dealt with 12,000 people in 40 countries, I think I know something about how the brain works. You've been here before. Maybe not the same circumstance, but you've been in the place that says, I can't do this. You know, Les Brown, who's a wonderful speaker, I encourage anyone who's looking for inspiration, look up Les Brown and read his story. But he has a quote that I love that I'm going to borrow. No, I'm going to steal it. He says, if you get knocked down, that's okay, because if you can look up, then you can get up. And I tell you, there were many nights that all I did was stare at the ceiling and go, how did I get here? Why am I here? I don't want this life. On January 24th of this year, 2020, for those that are hearing this in the future, an insurance company said, we're not paying for you to stay here anymore. Now, I told all the brilliant brain trusts that ran that facility that day was coming. Matter of fact, I told them for over a year. And they patted me on the head, gave me the metaphorical dunce cap, and told me to go sit in the corner. I didn't know what I was talking about, they said. Now, I knew what I was talking about because I'd been in a situation very similar to this 2 decades prior. 2 decades I had to sit and think about this. Anyway, one thing leads to another, and I sat there and I thought. And I said, when this happens, I want to be prepared. So I spent over a year studying human behavior again. I spent over a year studying different businesses I could get into when I got out of there. And I decided it didn't matter what happened, even if I wound up homeless, I was going to come back. It was a declarative decision within my heart, within my soul, within my spirit that said, you ain't taking me out. I've still got things to do. Now, right now, today, I guarantee you've got some of those of your own. Those moments that could take you out, those moments that could take you down, those moments that could make you doubt, those moments that could make you depressed, those moments that could make you angry. You've got them. Question is, are you going to stand up to them or are you going to cower down to them? Because what you choose to do as it relates to your biggest fears, they determine where your life goes. Are you an overcomer or a submissive? Are you an overcomer or a defeatist? I left the nursing facility with 2 things. I left with $200 to my name, not a lot of money, but a heck of a lot in comparison to about, I believe the statistic, something like 88% of the world has less than that, something. mathematician can quote me on that and fix the math for me. But a high 80th percentile has less than that to their name. And I left with a few friendships that I didn't have when I walked in the door. A good friend of mine who right now is partnering with me to help me get back on my feet, he said, I don't have any money to give you, but when you leave here, I can help you get wherever you want to go. And he was kind enough to drive me across town to the hotel I'm currently staying in. Now, to him, that's probably not a big deal. I wish I could have done more. He probably thought, to me, I was thinking, you're amazing. You eliminated one of my limitations because I don't drive. You see, and that's the thing, too. Can we eliminate the limitations of others just by being kind, just by caring, just by coming outside of our box and saying, what can I do to help and serve you today? If we live a life without limitations and we understand that each and every one of us are bound by the struggles we face in human existence, we're not so lonely, we're not so socially isolated. You know, this C virus has caused us to live in our homes, but I'm watching, because my clients are calling on me more than ever before, and I'm watching a couple of things, really interesting things I'd like for you to note as you listen to this. There's two groups of people. There's the group of people that are working on themselves. They're planning for when things get better. They're planning that they might quit their job because they weren't happy there for a long time. They're planning to spend more time with their spouse, more time with their kids. They're planning to save money differently. They're planning to get out of debt or go back to school. They're planning for the next phase of their life. And then there's the other group of folks, and all they're planning is to live in more fear. And it's interesting because my work schedule has changed. You know, I used to try and keep reasonable hours, something like a second shift schedule. You know, I'd work from late in the morning until 10 or 11 at night. And then as this erratic, nifty pandemic that Bill Gates, and look this up if you don't believe me, Bill Gates predicted this, some say 3, some say 5 years ago. I don't remember the exact number because I was only halfway paying attention. But what I do remember is Bill Gates predicted that a pandemic was going to be more dangerous to the United States and North America than any war we've faced. Guess who was right? Anyway, you can go seek that out just because he did that years ago, years before we are where we are. What does that mean? It means there are people who can be ahead of the curve in life. Seek them out. Don't seek out celebrities. I'll borrow a line from a professional wrestler, Tom Pritchard. I did a seminar with him one day, and I was getting advice from Tom. He probably doesn't remember this. It was more than a decade ago. He says, "Kid, come with me." And we were in an old warehouse. And I didn't know where we were going. So he says, "Kid, come with me." And we wander into the men's room. And he does what some people, would do in a men's room. He uses the restroom. And he says, "What did I just do?" And I'm thinking I'm walking into a really bizarre, situation. I'm walking into this like, there's a trick answer here. This is a trick question. I go, "Well, you went to the bathroom." He goes, "Yeah. I'm famous, right?" I said, "Yes, sir." "I'm well known, right?" "Yes, sir." "You admire me, right?" "Well, yes, sir." "And yet I pee just like you." And it clicked in my head that one of the things that we have in our society today is this belief that if someone has a better degree than me, they're better than me. If someone has more money than me, they're better than me. If someone has more notoriety or influence on social media, or more followers on Twitter, or more friends on Facebook, or whatever. They're better than me. It's an illusion. It's an illusional lie. And some would say caused by, I've heard everything from the devil to thought process to the forces of evil. Whoever causes it, pretty nifty creature though, because most of society lives in this thought that we're separate. And they don't live with the thought that there's unity. The unity that bonds us all is we'd all like to live a better life. Don't believe me? I dare you, in the next 24 hours, walk up to somebody and say, would you like to live a worse life today? After they check your temperature to see if you have the virus, they're going to say, what are you talking about? Everybody seeks improvement, folks. But in order to improve, we've got to blast past our limitations. It's that simple. Limitations can be used, and I'll close with this. Limitations can be used as points of leverage. Yes, I have this struggle. Yes, I have this hardship. Yes, I have this perceived limitation. But if I can learn how to get around it, hot dog, I'm good to go. Because if I'm the problem solver that can get around my limitations, what else can I do with the quality of my life? What other thing can I overcome that other people maybe don't think they can? You know, it's interesting. For the longest while, I wish I remembered the guy's name. I've heard this example used before. But for the longest while, there was a belief that you could not run a mile in under 4 minutes. And everybody believed it to be true, right? No one ever going to run a mile in under 4 minutes. And I'm sure before that it was no one's ever going to run a mile in under 4.5 minutes. And I'm sure before that it was 5 minutes and so on. Anyway, so I don't remember 30, 40, 50 years ago, somebody finally runs a mile in like 3:58. It's been done. Oh my gosh, new world record, everybody wins. Look who won the pony. Well, here's the thing. Within a year, 30-plus people had done the same thing. So let's look at that for a second. For several decades, the whole world consciously believed this can't be done. But once it was done once, 30-plus people replicated the doing of it in less than 12 months. What does that mean? I want you to hear me now. Everybody on earth is looking for the belief that their limits can be moved somehow. And we can partner with people to help make that happen just by believing in them and by working practical solutions so that they have a support system. The greatest gift you can give somebody is 4 simple words. I believe in you. Now, don't say them if you don't mean them, because that's fake. That's faker than the flotation devices on a girl from Baywatch. Don't do that. But if you really do believe in somebody, make sure they know it. Share it with them every day. And it's okay to say, I believe in you, but I have no idea how you're going to do this. I believe in you, but you've got a long road ahead. Those things are fine. But do you know that you can save a life spiritually, physically, mentally, and emotionally simply with those 4 words? Because most often the thing that causes a person's soul to die on the inside, from the inside out, is that they've lost the ability to connect with others. Therefore, they don't have anybody that they think believes in them, and they've stopped believing in themselves. Now, yes, there's people that will turn to faith and religion, but that doesn't work for everybody. And yes, there's people that will turn to their family, but not everyone has one. And yes, there are people that will turn to their friends, but sometimes their friends aren't good for them. So we all globally have a responsibility to share belief of the power of human nature to overcome. And in doing that, in earnestly from the heart, purely seeking to do that, you will change the world, which in itself makes you an unlimited being. Isn't that wonderful? All right, we're going to close for today, but I remind you, I'm Scott Golden, life and creativity coach. Worked with over 12,000 people in 40 countries. Nothing I haven't seen or heard. Love to work with you. Love to partner with you. Love to have you join our channel. Once again, subscribe, like, share, comment. I'd like you to answer this question in the comments below. So go down, scroll down. Hey, your mouse is running away. Scroll down. There you go. And answer this question for me. What limitation are you trying to remove from your own life? And maybe as a group, as the Progress Tribe, we can believe for you that you'll remove it. Pretty awesome, right? Anyway, if you'd like to get in contact, please do so through one of two useful ways. You can either send me a direct message here on YouTube or follow, as 55,000 people are already doing on Twitter, at PO Perception. If you'd like a certain topic covered, please drop that in a comment below. Share this on your social media. We want to build this tribe up. Merchandise coming soon. And you are loved, you are valuable, and you are limitless. I remind you, keep your feet on the ground and your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.